Welcome back, everybody. So this is the second day out of section 9.9. Here's the warm-up for today. Pause if you need to, and play whenever you're ready. So, again, what do I need to do first here? Standard form. Now, what would you guys do? Would you guys subtract the 3x squared over the left side, or to the right side, or would you subtract the other things over the left side? You went to the left? How many of you guys put everything on the left side? Raise your hand if you put everything on the left side. Raise your hand if you put everything on the right side. Okay, I think a majority went to the right side, so that's the way I'll do it. Now, it should not matter. It shouldn't matter. It does matter when you do completing the square. It does not matter when you do the quadratic formula. That's another thing I like about the quadratic formula, is it really doesn't matter whether things are negative or positive, what's to the left side, right side, it's all going to come out the wash, right?
Well, yeah, except if there's a negative underneath the square root.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about moving things to the left side of the 4. What would you do here? Would you move the 13 and the 4, or would you subtract the 3?
I'm
about half and half.
I'm be honest, I've been moving them over to the left, but
really?
Yeah. I just don't like negatives, negative numbers or negative people.
I said I like to stay positive. I'm a positive guy. Okay, so A, did you need me for anything? Or you stopped by?
I'm just stopping by to see what's going on, and I'll just roll with that.
A is -3, B is 13, C is -4. Now remember, every time we do one of these problems, you got to write out the quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC.
Your beginning was rough.
All over to A. Gotta get the pencil a little bit. The top of the lead. What is your son? What do you do?
I mean, I use that for like the beginning of your.
The opposite of B plus. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I think it's great.
The quadratic formula is negative B plus
what?
minus the square root.
You don't need the intro. You don't need the intro. Why would you sing that? Why would you sing that part? You don't need the intro. You don't know. If you don't know what you're singing, then why would you?
Yours did not sound good. I'm
the
sorry, but I know there's some.
Plus.
See, what is that? The opposite? How do I? What else?
You opposite, say negative. You say negative.
The opposite of a B is a D. So they're gonna think we gotta get a D term.
You guys are arguing about singing.
All right, so we plug it in. Hey, what's the opposite of negative? What's the opposite of 13? Somebody said, I knew somebody would say D. -13. Oh, did your board ever do that to you?
No idea why it happens.
Does it do it to you though?
Yes. I think it has something to do. Were you close to the side?
No.
See, I was wondering if like my shoulder. Bump.
No, it's like I scroll down and then I write and it jumps back up. Okay. Yeah. The square root of, we got B squared, so 13 squared minus 4 times -3 times -4, all divided by 2 times -3. Where do I go to first? We calculate, yeah, okay, thank you. But where do I start plugging in my calculator first? Rudder? Underneath the square root. So let's go in there. Anybody remember what I called that yesterday? Yes, I did call the square root the house. But the thing underneath the square root is called the discriminant. We'll talk about that a little bit more today. So we do 13 squared minus 4 times -3 times -4. 121. So if you did not get 121, you either plugged the numbers in wrong or you put it in your calculator wrong. What is the square root of 121? 11. So we can say that this is -13 plus or minus 11 all over -6.
Yeah. What do you have to be careful of, like, if your B value is negative? Like, when you plug that into your calculator, don't you have to make sure that you put?
What should you always do when you put something squared? Parentheses. I always think I use parentheses. So -13 plus or minus 11 all over -6. So we got -13 plus 11 over -6 and -13 minus 11 over -6. All right, -13 plus 11. We can do -13 plus 11 in the numerator we get a -2 over -6, which is a 1/3 or a 0.3. We'll use a decimal here. 0.3 repeating. And then we have -13 minus 11, which is a -24 over -6 is a +4. So my two answers are 4 and 1/3, or 4 and 0.3. How do we do on that? Did we do okay on that? The hard part is memorizing the formula, right? Once you know the formula, once the formula is written down correctly, it should be easy from that point onward. It's just knowing and using the formula. All right. What would we do to this one to get it into standard form? Subtract the 1. See, would you move this over to the left side?
That one, that wouldn't matter. I wouldn't care about that one.
Yeah.
Just because as long as really I just like my A value.
Positive? But it doesn't matter in this.
I know, Mr. Laver.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A is 3, B is 2, C is -1.
I'm very happy with that.
See you, Mr. Spells. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Again, I strongly encourage you every single time we do one of these problems, you write out the quadratic formula. If you do that, you're going to memorize it. I guarantee it. Some of you who did it on your homework last night, who I know I told you to do that, but if you did it on your homework last night, I bet you're starting to memorize it. I bet you're starting to it's just happening. Just remember it. So we have x equals the opposite of b. So -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So that means we have 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times -1. So 16. So both these come out nice. That's good. The square root of 16 all over 6. All right, now the square root of 16 is 4. So -2 plus or minus 4 all over 6, which gets me -2 plus 4 over 6, and -2 minus 4 over 6. So -2 plus 4 over 6 is 2 over 6, which again, that's that 1/3 again, isn't it? 0.3 repeating. Oh no, that's 2/3. Excuse me, 2/3. 2/3. So 0.6 repeating. Or 0.7 if you wanted to round it. And then -2 minus 4 is -6 over 6, which is -1. Questions on either of those two warm-up problems? You there? Okay, let's get out our homework. I'm going to read off some answers from 2 to 10. The answers for 2 are 1 and 4. 3 is 0.5 and 3. Number 4 is -1 and +7. These are not coordinates. These are just two different numbers there. And number 5 is -4 and -10. Number 6 is -1.3 and 2. And number 7, -0.5 and then 1.5. Okay. Out of those 7, what do we need? We can pause and do 1 or 2 of these if we'd like to. What do we want to see here? 6. I'm guessing you added or subtracted the 8 over to the other side. Okay, 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. So that means my A value is 3, B value is -2, C is -8. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Over 2a. Okay. So we say, catch this first. Did you write a +2 or a -2? Okay, good. That's good. So we have +2 plus or minus the square root of, and then we got -2 squared minus 4a c all over 2 times 3. Now, let me guess. I'm going to be math doctor here. Try to diagnose the issue. We should have gotten minus 4 times 3 times negative 8. We should have gotten 100. Did you get 100?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm wrong then. So 2 plus or minus the square root of 100 all over 6. All right, so it should have been 2 plus or minus 10 over 6, which is 12 over 6, or negative 8 over 6. So 2 or negative 4/3 or negative 1.3 repeating. Where'd you go wrong? Underneath the radical? You know? Yeah. I'm guessing you did this. Let me see. I bet you did this. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 8. Did you have a 92? Yeah. You didn't square. You didn't have the parentheses around the negative 2. All right. Do we want to do any other one of those? We can go through another one if you'd like to. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
I'll just do 7.
Yeah, 7. Let's do 7 real quick. That one's a good one because it's already set up. So A is 4, B is 4, C is negative 3. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have the opposite of b. It was it was negative 4. Watch out there. Negative 4. It turns positive 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 4, which turns into 4 plus or minus the square root of, we got negative 4 squared minus 4 times, oops, got my 4 in there, a times c, negative 3, 64 over 8, which gets us 4 plus or minus 8 over 8. So that's 12 over 8 or negative 4 over 8. That's 4 plus 8, so we get the 12. 4 minus 8, get the negative 4. So 12 over 8 gets us our 1.5. Negative 4 over 8 gets me my negative 0.5. Make sense? Okay, so let's take a look at 8, 9, and 10. Now, I am more concerned about if you got 2 through 7 correct, because 8, 9, and 10, I believe, come out to be messy, weird numbers. Yeah, they come out to be a little bit weird numbers, and that's okay. We'll look at a couple of those today. That's like the back of the guided notes that we didn't get to. Turns out that 8 is plus or minus 1.73. 9 is negative 5.45. And then negative 0.55. And then number 10 is 0.3 and 6.7. And writing the radical answers, it would have been 0 plus or minus the square root of, let's do this real quick, b squared minus negative 4 to negative 6. 48 over 4. So that's the radical answer. This is the decimal answer. This is the radical answer. For number 9, this would have been negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 4 times, 36 minus 4 times 1 times 3. 24 over 2. That's the radical answer. And number 10 should have been 7 plus or minus 49 minus 4 times 1 times 2. 41 over 2. I'm less concerned if you got those wrong, because we're going to do a couple of examples of that today before we get into the second day. Okay? Any questions there? All right, I am going to save this really quick so I have that. So get out the back of your guided notes from yesterday. We're going to start here. What's that? Yep. We didn't do these yesterday, correct? Yeah, let's start there then. So these are the type of examples where I'm going to have to give a radical answer and a decimal answer. A radical answer and a decimal answer. How do I know that? Well, when I go to find my A, B, and C, I got 1, a 3, a -7. When I go to actually find my quadratic formula, which is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I don't remember it if I don't think it. Really? Yeah. That's a lie. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have -3 plus or minus the square root of, and then it's 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times -7. All divided by 2 times 1, right? Now what's going to happen here is underneath the radical, I'm going to get 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times -7, and I'm going to get a number that's not a perfect square. When you get a number that's not a perfect square, you have to write it as a radical answer and a decimal answer. Like this one, on the quiz that we'll take on Monday, you're going to have 2 sets of answer blanks for this. Radical answer, decimal answer. The nice thing about this is that the radical answer is the exact same thing as you wrote down just a second ago. -3 plus or minus the radical 37 all over 2. That's my answer there. Because at that point, the next step, I would have to turn it into a decimal. From that point forward, it's a rounded answer. And that's when we turn it into a decimal. So let's do that. Remember, the 2 options would be -3 plus radical 37. Oops, I wrote plus or minus. -3 plus radical 37 over 2, and -3 minus radical 37 over 2. Okay, so let's do that. -3 plus the square root of 37. Now, don't try to put this all in one statement in your calculator because you're going to get it wrong. It's not going to do it correctly. You got to do -3 plus radical 37. Divide that by 2. So my answer is 1.54. And then you do the same thing with the minus. -3 minus the square root of 37. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. -4.54. Okay? Watch here. People, everybody look up at my screen right now. Because I know some of you are going to do this. -3 plus the square root of 37 and my parenthesis divided by 2. That is wrong. That is wrong. You're telling your calculator to take the square root of 37 and divide it by 2. Then add it to -3. That's not correct. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You need to write it out as 2 separate things in your calculator. You got to take -3 plus the square root of 37, then divide it by 2. That's where I got my 1.54, and then do the minus as well. Let's do the other problem, the F problem. What do I have to do first? Standard form. Add the 1. Let's add the 1. So that gets me a 2x squared minus 8x plus 1. So my A is 2, my B is -8, and my C is 1. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so it's the opposite of b. So negative 8 turns positive 8. B squared is negative 8 squared. Be careful with that one because it's a negative squared. It's like what Mr. Spottelson was talking about. Use parentheses. Minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times 2. Okay, so we go underneath the house. Negative 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times 1. And I get 56. Is 56 a perfect square? No. So this is an example where I would have to, oops, that's a 4 on the bottom there. This is an example where I would have to give both radical and decimal answers. 8 plus or minus the square root of 56 is over 4 is one of the answers. That's my radical answer. And now I would go to my decimal answer. I would say 8 plus radical 56 all over 4, and 8 minus radical 56 all over 4. 8 plus radical 56, hit your enter key, then divide it by 4, 3.87. Be right over there? 3.87, and then I do the minus. 8 minus radical 56 all over 4. 0.13. Okay? Now, we probably won't get to all of these examples today since we had to catch up from yesterday. That's okay. We'll finish this up tomorrow if we needed to. But honestly, we're not really going to do much new stuff today. The only new thing that we're going to do today is talk about the discriminant. Now, the discriminant, I kind of already talked about it. It's the thing inside the house. It's the thing underneath the radical. That's really what the discriminant is. Okay? But we haven't really talked about what it tells us. Now, the discriminant can either be positive, negative, or 0. Right? Those are the three options that any number could be. Positive, negative, or 0. So we just have to figure out what, whether it turns out negative, positive, or 0, what are the implications of that? The discriminant is basically, again, just the piece inside the radical. The piece inside the radical, the b squared minus 4ac. That is the discriminant. The thing underneath the radical, that's what's called the discriminant. Now, it could either come out, let me make this a little bit smaller so I can put it on one page. Did you guys see it up there? Oh, there we go. Much better. Because it could either come out positive, negative, or 0. I give you the three options. If the discriminant is positive, now everything that we've done thus far with the quadratic formula, the discriminant came out positive. And we always got two different solutions. I shouldn't say everything, because there was a couple on our homework last night where the discriminant came out 0. The thing underneath the radical came out 0. So therefore it was one solution. When the discriminant comes out 0, it's one solution. If the discriminant comes out negative, meaning I would be taking the square root of a negative number. So in this case, the square root of negative 4. You would be trying to put the square root of negative 4 in your calculator, and it would actually turn out as a negative number, and it would be a no solution, right? If you go to square root the discriminant, and it's a negative number, there would be no solution there. And remember, we talked about how when you square root a negative number, that's the case where it's above the x-axis. It's not crossing the x-axis at all. Because those are the three options. It could have 2 zeros, 1 0, or no zeros at all. So let's see how to calculate it. Let's see what we got here. 3x squared minus 2x plus 2. 3x squared minus 2x plus 2. All right. Again, what am I doing here? I'm finding the number of solutions. Please understand the directions here. I'm not actually asking you to find what the solutions are. I really don't care what they are. All I'm caring about is what type of solutions there are. And I say in the directions of the problem, just use the discriminant. You don't need to use the whole quadratic formula. So let's identify what A, B, and C are. A is 3, B is -2, C is +2. So all I'm going to do is take B squared minus 4AC. -2 squared minus 4 times 3 times +2. And let's see what we get. Parenthesis, -2 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2. And all that is -20. I don't care about the fact that it's 20. I care about the fact that it's negative. How many solutions would I have if it's negative? 0. No solutions. No solutions if it's negative. So it says find the number of solutions. No solutions. Don't say undefined, because I'm asking you, the question is, how many solutions does it have? The answer is there are no solutions. Yeah.
If there wasn't a negative, would you say 2?
Yeah. Positive is 2, 0 is 1.
You wouldn't even have to go on.
Nope. Because that's all I'm asking for here. I'm kind of like reducing the amount of work a little bit by just saying, okay, how many solutions are there? Like for this next one. It's already set up in standard form, perfect. A is 2, B is 11, C is 12. So I'm going to find my discriminant by taking, again, B squared minus 4AC. I don't know if you took the hint. I'm telling you to do work right now. I'm not just telling you to sit there. B squared minus 4AC. So B squared, it's 11 squared minus 4 times 2 times 12. So B squared is 11 squared minus 4 times 2 times 12. It's 25. I don't care about the fact that it's 25. I care about the fact that it's positive. And the fact that it's positive tells me that there are 2 solutions. You don't need to write the fact that it's positive. I'm just showing the work on why it is 2 solutions. I don't care about the fact that it's actually a square rootable number, a perfect square. I just care about the fact that it's positive. And let's take a look at our last one there. X squared plus 8x plus 16. All right, so we have A is 1, B is 8, C is 16. All right, B squared minus 4AC. All right, that gives us 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 16. And we get 0. If it's a 0, how many solutions are there? 1 solution. Okay. Negative is no solutions. Positive is 2 solutions. 0 is 1 solution. Okay. And again, please understand the directions there. The direction was just find the number of solutions. So pay attention to the directions tonight. You don't have to do the whole quadratic formula if I say just find the number of solutions. All right, so on the back, we're going to be talking about, remember how there's a bunch of these problems where it's like I throw something, or I kick something, or something's falling, and it's described by a parabola. Okay, we have been talking about these pieces of information here, okay? And those are the zeros of the graph, right? The zeros of the function. That's when it crosses the x-axis. And algebraically, that's when it's set equal to 0. And that's what we've been doing for the past 4 sections. I've been strategically giving you nice equations that work out by solving by square roots or solving by factoring. But what if it's not a nice equation? What if it's more of a real life example that has decimals and stuff in it? Then it's best to use the quadratic formula. Say, for example, something like this. The height h in feet of an object shot straight up with an initial vertical velocity v is given in feet per second by negative 16 t squared plus vt plus c, where c is the initial height of the object above the ground. The ringer on a carnival strength test is 2 feet off the ground and is shot upward with an initial velocity of 30 feet per second. Will it reach a height of 20 feet? And use the discriminant to explain your answer. All right. So what I'm looking at here is I'm giving you an equation. I'm giving you an equation, negative 16t squared plus v times t, where t is the variable here. What is v in this case? What is the velocity? 30 feet per second. 30. The velocity is 30 feet per second. So the velocity is 30 plus c, where c is the initial height off the ground. So what's my c value? 2. So here's my equation. Now, let's try to understand what the question is asking. It says, will it reach a height of 20 feet? Will it reach a height of 20 feet? I'm not asking when it's going to reach it. I'm saying, will it reach? Is there a solution at 20? So I'm saying this. Will this ever be equal to 20? Is there any solution to that equation? Will the height ever equal 20? Well, to do this problem, is that set up in standard form yet? No, let's subtract over the 20 to the other side. And then I have this. Am I asking when it's going to hit? No, I'm saying, will it ever hit? Is there any solution to this? Well, the easiest way to figure out if there's a solution or not is just to find the discriminant. B squared minus 4 times A times C. B squared minus 4AC. 30 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 18. Right, that's just my discriminant, my b squared minus 4ac, and I get that this is negative 252. The fact that it's negative tells me what? There are no solutions. Will it ever reach 20 feet? No. Never. Okay. It's not actually asking me to try to find when it's going to happen. It's saying, is it going to happen? So it will never happen because the discriminant gives us a no solution when I set it equal to 20. Okay. We'll save those last two problems for tomorrow. We can do this at the beginning of class tomorrow. The homework is on the exact same page as last night's homework. It's at page 657, 14 to 29. You will have some that just say solve by using the quadratic formula like you had last night. There will be some where I say just use the discriminant. Pay attention to the direction. Pay attention to the direction. Pay attention to the direction.